Hi, I'd like to make a video about modesty, dressing modestly. And one of the reasons that I've been thinking about this topic is because of my wife. You know, where we live, there are a lot of women who dress in very kind of scanty clothes, and sometimes you'll go to churches. You visit a church, and some churches the women wear low-cut stuff, and of course my wife will talk about that, and she works with young women, disciples them, and this is always an issue that she's concerned about and wondering about how to approach the issue. And I think a YouTube video is a very easy way to teach about this, partly because as you know, if someone's in a church and they're teaching on the topic, then the person who's dressed sort of in scanty clothes, it feels like attention's being drawn to the fact that they're dressed inappropriately. But through the internet, nobody knows what you're wearing at home if you're there by yourself watching the video. So anyway, now a verse I'd like to point out is yeah, let's see. Yeah, in verse Romans 14:21, different topic, but it says, "It is good neither to eat meat nor drink wine nor do anything by which your brother stumbles or is offended or is made weak." And Paul in the passage, he's not against eating meat or drinking wine, but probably the issue back then, or one of the issues, was that these things could have been offered to idols, and if they were sold in the market, you didn't know where they came from. That's dealt with this is Romans 14, but that's also dealt with in 1 Corinthians 10. And so some people would say the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, so I can eat with thanksgiving. And other people would say, well, you don't know where it came from. And if you have a problem with your conscience, you're not supposed to eat it. If you don't have a problem, it's okay to eat whatever's sold in the market. But you don't want to tempt your brother with something that they consider a sin, and in their heart they're sinning against God when they do it. And that could be anything, not just meat offered to idols, but it could be many other things. And the thing is, if you look up in the Bible, or the idea of being offended, or of offending someone or causing someone to stumble. Offending someone doesn't mean that they say, I'm so offended at that, I don't like it. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It means you've caused the other person to stumble into sin. And that's usually how it's used. And also, yeah, stumbling, that's the idea too in the New Testament. If you see the word offended or stumbling, usually that means that you've tempted or caused somehow or influenced the other person to sin. And, if we love God, we don't want people sinning against God. And if you love your neighbor, you don't want your neighbor sinning against God. So it's a matter of love. You don't want to cause your brother to sin. Now, why am I talking about this related to the issue of modesty? When it comes to modesty, there are different concepts related to modesty. If you look in 1 Timothy 2:8-10, "I desire then that at every place the men should pray, lifting holy hands without anger or quarreling. Likewise also that women should adorn themselves in respectable apparel, with modesty and self-control, not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly attire, but with what is proper for women who profess godliness with good works." So one of the issues addressed here is being immodest and dressing in a wealthy manner to draw attention to yourself. That's one issue. The issue I'd really like to hone in on is another aspect of modesty, and it's revealing parts of your body when you dress. And I'm a guy, and I really don't know if another guy's good looking. So as far as what guys wear that tempt women in this way, maybe I'm not the best expert on that. But a lot of things I say, I'm going to kind of focus more on what women wear. But a lot of it applies to guys too. If you want to wear your muscle shirts that are cut down to your, from your armpit to your waist to show off your hot bod and trying to attract women that way, then you can listen to this as well and just apply it to your gender. But a lot of women, I read a post on the internet one time, and there was this guest preacher. He was a guest preacher, and he was telling his story. He went to a church where they had kind of a clothesline religion attitude, or the song leader did, and he rebuked the women for showing their shoulders in church, and the song leader did. And when the guest preacher got up to preach, he said, "Yeah, we wouldn't want anybody to lust after your armpits." He thought it was silly that someone would rebuke women for showing their shoulders in church. But for a lot of guys, if a woman's wearing something like this, it shows her shoulders and shows a bit of leg, and it's just like an eye magnet, especially if she's an attractive woman. And it's just like, and so for some guys that can be a stumbling block, and for other guys maybe it's not. So just be aware out there, ladies, when you're dressing, to dress in a way that's appropriate. And let me lay a little foundation. In the Bible, it says, marriage is holy and all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. Now, God wants sex for the marriage bed. That's kind of a foundation for what I'm going to say. On top of that, Jesus also taught that if a man looks at a woman in order to lust after her, he's committed adultery with her in his heart. So that's a sin in the heart against God. If you look in the Old Testament, it says not to covet your neighbor's wife. In the book of Job, Job was a righteous man, and he had made a covenant, he said, with his eyes, not to look upon the virgin with lust. So it's not just married women. We're supposed to abstain from looking with lust on women. And that's something that a lot of guys will have to, you have to be disciplined and not look, or avert your gaze. And I've got to do that. That's something I have to do as a man. So in order to keep my eyes pure. And if you're a woman and you want to dress, a lot of women, there are different reasons women dress in scanty clothes. And one of them is it's the culture. If a woman, I'm talking about Christian women here, if you're not a Christian, you don't have any religion, then I guess what I'm saying probably won't mean all that much to you. But if you're a Christian and you want to serve God, the issue of how you dress is a part of your expression of your Christianity. And a lot of young women that become Christians dress like that because they see other women dressing that way, and they never think anything about it, and they just think of it as normal. And they'll show cleavage, they'll show thigh, they'll show, cut off stuff, really scanty clothes. And they think nothing of it. And part of that could be ignorance of that it's an issue. They don't even think that it's an issue. Well, if that's the category you're in, just that's it's an issue you face. Just think, listen to this and think about it. The other reason is some women dress that way because they want to attract men. And I was talking with a friend one time about this, but we were on a college campus, and the Hooters had just opened up. This is a long time ago. Hooters had just opened up, and women were there in their Hooters outfits, or they had been. And he said that, a lot of women dress that way because they want to attract men. But they don't understand the attraction. It's like a tiger going after a gazelle. I think he got his habitats mixed up there, but it's a valid point. He said if women understood what was going on when they attracted men, they would probably dress a little more modestly. The thing is, if you're dressing that way to attract men, for one thing, you're not supposed to cause your brother to stumble. Let's suppose there's a Christian who has a Christian man who has had a struggle with pornography, and so he puts one of those software things to report to his prayer group, whatever website he goes to, or something like that. He's on the web. He's he's decided to not go to the beach, and of course he doesn't go to strip clubs. He doesn't watch R-rated movies. He's trying to keep himself pure because of his thought life. He's wanting to have a pure thought life, and he can choose not to go to the beach, but he may have to go to the grocery store. He goes to church. And if you come in there showing low cut and high thigh and all this kind of stuff, and if you're a woman and you're showing off your wares, that's a temptation for him. And if he looks at you and he looks at you to lust after you've created an opportunity for temptation. And Jesus said if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, and he was talking about some children at the time, cause one of the little ones to stumble, it's better for you to have hang a millstone off your neck and be thrown into the depths of the sea. So it's pretty bad to tempt other people. Now he was talking about little kids, the context there was about children, but we're all supposed to be like children and humble ourselves to enter the kingdom of heaven. So anyway, my point is, dress in a way where you don't tempt the guys in an immodest manner. And another thing is, if you're trying to attract men, what kind of man are you going to attract with that technique? You're probably going to attract somebody who, if you want to attract somebody who's godly, who isn't going to have a problem with porn, with other women, with lusting after other women, with staring at other women in the restaurant, and you're wearing the low cut, the high dress, and all that kind of stuff to get his attention, you're not marketing yourself to the right segment, so to speak. You dress, but you want to dress in a way, first and foremost, that pleases the Lord. And one of the things the Lord is concerned with is that we don't tempt other people because we love them. We don't want them to sin. And we love God, and we want to live in a way that's pleasing to God. And so anyway, I'm not going to give you some list of formulas, a clothesline religion has to be this color, this size, and all this kind of stuff. But dress in a way that is modest, that covers your body, that doesn't show off or try to arouse sexual affection in other people. And maybe you're not aware that it does that. And if you think, well, my body is so wrecked, nobody's going to lust after me, so I'm going to wear short shorts and low-cut dress. Be considerate. If your body is that bad, you don't need to show it off, and you never know who's attracted to what. You know, different people are attracted to different things. So, and same thing goes for men. You know, dressed in a modest way, so as not to, you know, arouse the wrong types of affections from women, to tempt them to think sexual, lustful thoughts about you. Save some things for your spouse. And if you're not married, save it for when you get one, a spouse that is. And save it for marriage. So God bless you. Thanks for watching this video. And if you think that somebody else needs to hear it, feel free to pass on the link.